At this time, the January 22nd, 2019 meeting of the Cumberland County Commissioners will now come to order. Chairman Jeanette Council will be joining us shortly. At this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Larry Lancaster for our invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Pray with me, please. This evening we give thanks for our abundant blessings. We give thanks for life and good health. We give thanks for the ability to be involved in useful work and the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. Please grant us a sense of need for our residents, a confidence in what is good, the ability to work together, personal peace in our lives, an appreciation for the work of others. May all assembled never let the things that we want make us forget the things that we have. Help each of us to create a vision for tomorrow. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me with the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to take a moment now to recognize our Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council members. And can we ask Joyce Tupumbi to get that close? and Brian Craig to please come to the podium and introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Joyce Tupumbi.
And my name is Brian Craig, and we're the chair and the vice chair of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council. I'm very pleased to say that the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council has started the year on an awesome note. Recently, the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council volunteered on Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day at Find a Friend's Beautification Day, where they planted trees and helped the campus in its beautification day.
We have a lot of projects coming up that we're very excited about, such as our anti-littering campaign and the Kindness Matters project that we do within schools. And so we really just wanted to say thank you for your support. This wouldn't have been able to happen without you guys, so thank you for all you do for the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council.
Thank you.
Thank you all for showing up. Could you tell us what schools you represent?
There you go.
I attend Cumberland Polytechnic High School.
And I attend Cumberland International Early College High School.
Thank you all for being here. At the end of the meeting, we'll ask you for your comments on the meeting if you're able to do
Thank
that,
you.
please. Don't let us forget it. Thank you so much. At this time, we will have our public comment period. I would like to call on County Manager Amy Cannon to read the rules for our public comment period.
Yes, sir. The public comment period is an opportunity for the Board of Commissioners to hear the concerns of the public. The public comment period shall last no longer than 15 minutes. Each speaker will have a maximum of 3 minutes to make remarks until the 15-minute time limit is attained. No time may be yielded to a speaker. We ask that all speakers will address the board from the lectern and begin their remarks by stating their name and address. Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask the clerk at this time if we have any speakers.
We have one speaker this evening. Okay. Our speaker is Chief District Court Judge Robert Steele.
Okay. Welcome, Judge.
Is it S-T-E-E-L? No. Thank you, sir.
Am I losing time because of Commissioner Booth on that question, folks?
No, you're only one speaker.
If I might, Robert Steele, Chief District Court Judge here in Cumberland County, 117 Dick Street. Madam Chair, board members, it's good to be with you. My one concern is I apologize for missing out a couple months. I believe you knew I had a family medical issue in November, and then on December 17th was tied up in Raleigh with the director of the AOC on family court matters that affect the state, so forgive me. But it's good to be with you. Our numbers for December were 51,551 citizens came through the doors, and as you know, that's a limited work month. We're not open the entire time given the holidays as well. During that month, there were 521 Superior Court cases that were scheduled, 13,439 district court cases that were scheduled, on that somewhat slow month, as we call it. Your jail numbers ran a low on January 7th. They were at 715. They're currently at a recent high of 764. And as many of you know, the capacity is 814. Of encouragement is the fact that Commissioner Adams, Dwayne Holder, Judge King, who is representing me for a variety of reasons, and several others have undertaken a commitment to begin a criminal justice advisory group. And one of the first things they're going to look at is revamping recommendations of Judge Ammons and I on the setting of bonds, which will affect our jail numbers in a positive way. And some other things that we've got going on is Judge King, I applied for a grant on human trafficking. Judge King will spearhead an effort that's going to shape a protocol to be used in 99 other counties to implement human trafficking and criminal justice links and commitments as well. I want to thank the staff. We've begun to have discourse on both Ms. Cannon and Mr. Jackson, discourse on raise the age and the increased needs that your juvenile court counselors in our basement portion of the courthouse are going to need. We've celebrated 1-year anniversary of our community jail initiative, which is, as Glenn might call it, stepping up light, or the mental health jail initiative light. I'm proud to tell you we had one citizen that had 1,000 visits to the emergency room, usurping emergency ambulance and other services. He's not been back but 2 times since in June. He's been with us since April. He, in fact, will not go to the emergency room even if he now feels sick. He is very aware, and we're very proud of him, as you could well imagine. Lastly, I simply want to say these props are about you judges. The one that looks like it's expecting are simply rules. The other one, imagine 25 of these that make up North Carolina laws, not even county ordinances, city ordinances, county rules. And so your judges are working very hard. They're smart, they're dedicated, they're industrious, they have a passion for justice for all people of all color, economic background, educational background. So as I would like to thank each of you for your commitment and that of the great staff I get to work with on the county side, I hope that when you see your judges, you'll maybe give them a pat on the back as well. Thank you for your time, and I apologize for going over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Makes me want to
There are no further speakers.
Okay, thank you. Are there any changes?
No changes this evening.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second, okay. There's been a motion that we approve the agenda as presented. All in favor?
Unanimous.
Thank you. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda? All right, Mr. Booth.
Just one very briefly, item E.
Item D.
E.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, if it be in order, I would move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of item E.
Second.
Or just been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as presented with the exception of item E. Those in favor?
Unanimous.
All right, thank you. Mr. Booth, item E.
Very briefly, this is the same thing that when we were chatting about this, when it was being presented to us, I still have the same issue. At Campbell Law School, they told me that you had a 3-year statute of limitations on a claim. This claim happened in November of 2014. A lawsuit was never filed. I would not be advising a client sitting across the desk from me to pay a 5-year-old claim. So I can't vote to pay this claim.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Adams?
And I hear Mr. Booth, but I think, and maybe the attorney can get me, he's a minor. doesn't run until he turns 18, and he has another couple of years even after he turns 18 to be able to do that. It's a civil matter, so because he's a minor, it doesn't run.
He was a minor when this happened. He has turned 18, but the statute has not run against him at 18.
Okay. I just saw
Yes.
the release, and it said that he was an adult and fully capable of waiving all of his rights.
He is now. Yes, yes, sir. He is now. Yes, sir.
Just those couple of years.
Okay.
I move, Madam Chairman, I move approval of the settlement of the claim.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the settlement of the claim. Those in favor?
Voting in favor, Commissioners Keefe, Lancaster, Faircloth, Chair Council, Commissioner Adams and Evans. Voting in opposition, Commissioner Booth.
Okay. Thank you.
Item number 3 on our agenda are our public hearings. We have 2 uncontested rezoning cases. 3A is case P1848. I'll ask our interim Plan and Inspections Director, Joel Strickland, to present these cases.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and Commissioners. Case P1848 is a rezoning of 42.02 acres from A1 Agricultural and CDE Conservancy District to R40 Residential or a more restrictive zoning district. It's located on the southwest side of Roslyn Farm Road, east of I-95. The case is submitted by Christopher Cates on behalf of Roslyn Farms West, who is the owner, and James M. Kaiser on behalf of Mormon Kaiser and Ritzel. Planning Board unanimously recommended approval of the staff recommendation at the December 18, 2018 meeting. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer those for you.
Mr. Adams?
No, I think you never took mine off from the last time.
I didn't take yours off.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Let me open the public hearing. Are there speakers?
There are no speakers.
All right, then I'll close the public hearing. Any questions or discussions? If not, I'll call for a motion.
Madam Chair, I would move that in the case of P18-48, the Planning Inspection Staff who recommends approval of rezoning, except for that portion located within the special flood hazard area and the floodway to be zoned CD Conservancy District, and that we find this recommendation to be consistent with the South Central Land Use Plan 2015, which calls for open space and farmland at this location. The farmland designation allows for 1 unit per acre with suitable soils for septic, and the open space designation allows for the protection of the special flood hazard area, and further find that approval of the request is reasonable and in the public interest because the district requested is in harmony with surrounding zoning, existing land uses, and lot sizes while preserving existing conditions within the Conservancy District. Need a second.
Second.
All right. You've heard the motion. Those in favor?
Unanimous.
Thank you. Case P1849?
Yes, 3B.
Yes, case P1849 is rezoning of 4.88 acres from RR Rural Residential and R10 Residential to R5 Residential or a more restrictive zoning district located on the north side of Camden Road, east side of Brown Road, submitted by Kyung Suk Jang on behalf of Springs Property Management and Jeffrey Wright. In this case, Planning Board also recommended approval and unanimously recommended approval of the staff recommendation at the December 18th, 2018 Planning Board meeting.
All right. I'll open the public hearing. Are there speakers?
There are no speakers.
I'll close the public hearing. Are there questions or discussions? If not, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
In the case of P1849, I move to approve the rezoning from RR Rural Residential to R10 Residential to R5 Residential and find the approval is an amendment to the adopted current Southwest Cumberland Land Use Plan map and that the Board of Commissioners should not require any additional request or application for amendment to said map or request. Following changes and conditions were considered in amending the zoning ordinance to meet the development needs of the community. The subject property meets the entire criteria for high-density residential as defined in the Land Use Policies Map 2009, and this rezoning approval is reasonable and in the public interest of the district request in harmony with the surrounding existing land uses and zoning.
Second.
All right. I'll open the public hearing.
There are no speakers.
No speakers. I'll close the public hearing. The questions or discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
You did the motion before him.
All in favor?
Unanimous.
You did the motion for.
Thank you.
That's the motion. It's a three-part motion.
That was the motion. Okay, that was all the motion. It's so
It's
long, I
three-part.
couldn't read it. I mean, I couldn't follow. Case P 1837.
Yes,
Item-
ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead, Mr.
Yep.
Strickland.
This is case P 1837. It's rezoning of 29.89 acres from A1 agricultural to R40 residential, CZ conditional zoning for a 20-lot subdivision or to a more restrictive zoning district located on the west side of Wade Stedman Road, submitted by Ernest A. Bunce, owner, and Mike Adams on behalf of MAP Surveying. If you look at the subject property here, you can see the majority of the surrounding properties are either agricultural or residential. Here's the aerial of the subject property.
Joe, can you go back to that first slide?
Sure.
With the yellow signifies
Residential?
zoning
Yes, sir.
at what level? R40?
Those properties is what? It's all zoned A1, I'm sorry, agricultural.
All of them are,
Yeah.
all the yellows are A1.
The yellow represents single-family residential that's existing on the properties.
So it was existing when the zoning came into effect?
When it was initially zoned, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Here's the hydric soils map. You can see there are some hydric soils to the back of the property.
Sorry.
Here's a topo map, just showing the terrain of the area. The elevations get lower as you head toward the back of the subject property. Here is the planned plat for the subdivision. And then here's the subject property picture facing the property. Here's a view from the north view from Wade Stedman Road, east view from Wade Stedman Road, the south view from Wade Stedman Road. And that's all we have on those slides. Planning Board recommended approval of this property at their December 18th, 2018 meeting. I do think we have some speakers on here in the audience for this case.
All right. I'll open the public hearing. Are there speakers?
We have no speakers in favor, 3 speakers in opposition.
All right.
Our first speaker in opposition is Mr. Tim Lancaster.
How much time do I have?
3 minutes.
Okay, I'll be as quick as I can. Good evening, everybody. I'm Tim Lancaster. I live at 1802 Winterlocken Road. I'm representing my father in this meeting, and he lives at the address with me. He is not in favor of the Bunch Farm being rezoned from agricultural to residential. My dad owns the property directly to the north side of the plot that is subject of tonight's meeting. His land extends on both sides of Wade Stedman Road. My dad's 22-acre tract was once part of a much larger property comprised of woods and farmland that has been in his family since the 19th century. He was born in his grandmother's house on that land in 1928. As a youth, he helped farm that land with his family. While he believes that most people ought to be able to do what they like with their property, their actions should not result in problems for other landowners. His philosophy is in keeping with the Crisman versus Guilford County decision of 1988. He is concerned that shoehorning 20 or more homes onto the Bunch property will cause problems for him and the other landowners and homeowners in the area, to include damage to his property through groundwater pollution, flooding, water runoff, exacerbated by paving with asphalt and concrete, and changes to the nature and character of this section of rural Cumberland County. While the area is sandy farmland, the water table, particularly on the western side of the properties, is high. The ground does not perk well. This fact causes him concern, as 20 more homes with 20 or more septic tanks placed in such a compact area will result in contamination of groundwater and seepage of sewage up from the ground, potentially. Last week, I sent pictures to a county commissioner of one area of the standing water at a shared corner. This standing water, this water was standing after so many days after the last rainfall, is strong evidence that such seepage and contamination from placing so many homes on this plot of land is likely. In addition, the irrigation pond at the corner, at that corner, stays full year-round. Further evidence of the high water table that will result in problems that I've cited. At the planning board meeting last month, the developer himself stated that he may need to put more houses in this development to make his money back on the deal. More houses means more septic tanks, which means increased likelihood of groundwater contamination from sewage and increased runoff. My dad is concerned with water runoff, flooding, and overland flow. The southern boundary of the western two-thirds of my dad's land adjoins the Bunch land. The Bunch land floods during heavy rain. That flooding is worse from hurricanes and other heavy rain events. The water from those rains drain east towards Wade Stedman Road in the direction of the existing neighbor's property, resulting in hardship for them. Modifying the land to reduce runoff toward the road will send it on to other people's property, including my dad's land tract. While 20 more houses on a 20-acre tract in this area is not totally unprecedented, it is unusual. There are clusters of houses nearby on smaller lots. Development as dense as what is proposed here, however, is different. Based on my research using the Cumberland County Tax Administration's website, the number of homes proposed here can't be found outside of the community of Bethany proper. A development this dense in this area would significantly change the character of this area, and it would not be in harmony with the surrounding areas. In closing, it is clear that densely packing 20 more homes on the Bunch farm is problematic. The area's high water table and drainage problems will create hardships for the surrounding homeowners. That hardship and damage will come in the form of sewage contamination of groundwater sources and seepage into other properties, and the development is a predictable problem.
Thank you.
Flooding of others' property. Couple sentences?
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate your patience with me, and sorry for running over.
I got
Any questions?
Could you zip this back to the slide that had that right there? There, that's good. Where's your dad's property in that?
Yes, where the highlighter is, and it extends on the other side of Wade Stedman Road. Yes.
I mean, which is there a map that shows the thing in better tracks? Will that be easier for you to point out?
Yeah, it was right there. Go back.
You said it goes on both sides.
Both sides of Wade Stedman Road.
Wade Stedman Road, right?
Yeah.
Which?
Right there, across that road.
Right
That's
there.
Wade Stedman right there.
The red area is the property that is under question
Right.
for be rezoning. My dad's property is that long tract that goes wider on the west, narrows to the east,
Okay.
crosses the road, and extends to some homes on the other side.
Okay.
Thank you.
No other questions?
Are there other questions?
All right, thank you for your
right.
time.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Miss Hannah Garcia.
Hi, I'm Hannah Garcia. I live at 3045 Wade Stedman Road. The house that my husband and I actually live in is, yes, that one right there. And we are not residential, just to clear that up. Our house is actually agriculture, so we're not residential. My husband and I moved in to this property in August, so we were not aware of this being discussed. I know that it had been in the works with Mr. Younts previous to us buying the house, but we were not aware when we purchased the home in August that this was something that was being discussed. It wasn't until, I believe, a week or two after we moved in. Our house is the one on the right here. it wasn't until a week after we moved in that Mr. Younts came or sent something through the mail, I believe. And originally what the plan was to rezone our house as well, without fully informing us. And so I know that then it kind of went back and they took our properties out of the zoning. So we do appreciate that those aren't in. But the main concern for us is that this right here would be the entrance to the neighborhood. We live right here. We're about to start a family, and so it's just the idea of having construction coming and going right next to our house and how that will be regulated. Will there be certain hours that can go on with people living so close? Because that is our side of our house, and I believe where our fence is, I think the property would start about, is it like a foot or two from the fence? So this would be the entrance. We knew that this could happen at some point, but we had no clue when we purchased our house in August that this was happening so quickly. And so for us, it was just kind of startling, and just kind of took us back a little bit. But the big thing is, too, we have the same concerns that Mr. Lancaster has about the water, how everything is going to drain. We know that when our house was built, there were some serious issues during construction with how water has drained. Our house held up okay in the previous storms, but there are properties just down the street that have just recently been built that are completely sand as well, that have been holding on water. And so we have the same concerns, just that with us being so close to these properties, they're going to be in our backyard, that we're building, that 20 lots are getting put in. I know originally the plan was only 14 and now there's 20. And so it's just having all of that going on so close to our house when we just bought this house and we're trying to start a family, so close to when this is all going on. So I think at first it was kind of the way things were approached to us, and I know that has nothing to do with anyone in this room, but the way it was kind of brought to our attention, and then just kind of backtracking and trying to figure out what we can do, because that was not in anything that we were informed of when we purchased the home in August. So that's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next speaker.
Our last speaker is Mr. Sean Garcia.
Sean Garcia, 3045 West Stedman. This picture right here is kind of disturbing for me in a little bit kind of way. Knowing that we were told that maybe it's going to happen be 14 houses, which I can see that being okay for me. My biggest concern is the traffic that's going to be built up there. You know, people have cars, people have vehicles. That's our driveway, that they're going, our house right there, and they're going to be driving by every day. And one of our biggest concerns is having multiple vehicles drive by there in the morning, in the evening, and in the weekends when we have our spare time, because we're both teachers and we like to enjoy our weekends every once in a while and have some quiet. And that's something that concerns me. You know, I know this may go through, but I think 20's house is a little bit more what I'm looking for. Maybe 14 can be something that can be more considered and doable in that land and resources there. And for me, another too is the land. It does happen to get a bunch of water back there. We did happen to walk in back pasture to see, because we're going to work out, and there was some water previously. There has been water when the flooding came for the Hurricane Florence, because you look on that map, it tells you where all the flooding's at, and in the back of the property, kind of there, you can see it coming up towards our houses. Now, it didn't flood this past with Florence, but it's something that's concerning for me. And then on that, when they're building construction, all the sand, all the plying, and that runoff water is going to come towards our houses, mine and my neighbors over here. And, you know, another thing was concerning, too. We come to find out that he tried to make our properties into this one, but it is changed. They try and change it from residential to, from agriculture to residential was a big concern of ours, not knowing he was going to do that property, have that with us. But just having that entrance right there daily, having those cars, you know, you multiple times, too, that keeps building and building when you get children, when you get the adults coming through their house. And that's a property that hopefully, you know, we can consider maybe narrowing it down to less. And my concern is with Mr. Lancaster with building all the wells in there, what's going to go on with the runoff, how's it going to handle. I mean, yes, it's sandy soil, but if you go down about a foot or 2 feet deep, it's pretty saturated. I teach land in my classroom, and if you touch the soil, you can see how saturated it is, even with the rain past from Florence, what we've been having. It's a major concern because right now it's still wet, still saturated. And this past weekend, it's evident that water can hold there, even though it is more sandy type soil there. But that was just my concerns, and just looking at that and evaluating it. And you can see on the back, too, if you, not this picture, but it does slope in the back end. And that's my concern, too, how that little creek is in that corner. That water can run up on there. So it's not like it's a dead level place compared to the whole part towards the road. But that's all I have to say. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Were you at the earlier meetings?
Yes, sir.
Who was it that told you that it was 14?
We said that earlier. Me and Mr. Yancey talked about it. It had different letters on there. That first one, the proposal that we got, because it was sent to us. One day we changed it to 14. Then the second one we got that he changed it, instead of having our property rezoned, it changed to 20.
Okay. Were you there, as Mr. Lancaster said, that he said he might have to build even more to get
Yes,
his
just
money
try to
out?
make his money back.
Was
Yes,
that
sir.
the 14 or the 20 or
The
the
20.
more than the 20?
The 20 when he said it at the second one.
14 to 20.
No, 20, maybe building more probably.
More than 20.
Mm-hmm. If you could do it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jim, Mr. Keith?
Thank you. Have the planner, please. Okay, we're going to have to walk through this thing a little bit just to make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music. But A1, or what would be the maximum, one house per 40,000 square feet, right? Basically one house per acre.
That's right. He could get 12 lots out of A1 on this property currently.
12 lots?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how many can they get out of what the request is?
27 lots.
How do you get 27 lots with common areas too?
It would be the density minus the 15% for right away, right? Yeah, there's no common areas in this also.
Okay. So if the land is as saturated, is the health department, do we even know if the land is perks? Do we know?
We
No.
don't know. The health department would have to analyze that.
Okay. So and this is an important thing, Joel, and I know this
Sure.
is welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if, let's just say 40% of the land does not perk, they are still under the requirement at one house per 40,000 acres. They can't take the land, the total land in itself, and condense it down. Is that correct? Do you understand what I'm asking?
No, ask me that one more time, please.
Okay. Suppose half of it doesn't perk and is not buildable, but the entire property is 29 acres.
Right.
Can they use the entire property to build as many houses as they can on that 29, or is that wetland and that non-buildable area removed from the equation? I'm asking this for
No,
a particular reason.
it's not removed from the equation.
So what you're telling me is that there is a possibility if half of it doesn't perk, they could condense down and build up to 27 units within that first quadrant, that first half of the facility, of the product.
They could, except for this being conditional zoning. The fact that it's conditional zoning puts limits on the 20 lots. So all he can get, because of the conditions we've put on it, is the 20 lots.
But he could condense those 20 lots in half that spot if the other places don't perk.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Are there other questions?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Follow up to Mr. Keith's question. If they cannot perk those lots and they have to come back and replat that, where does that come back to? Does that come back to the planning board to sign off on a replat?
As long as if it's more than a 10% change, they would have to come back. If it's less than 10%, it's something that could be done at staff level.
What would that be, 10% of? 10% of what? I mean,
The layout, basically. They're trying to do a massive amount of changes with it, maybe changing 10% of the lots, let's say. We can do it at staff level.
10% of the number of lots?
Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, if he comes in and has to reconfigure the lots differently, he's only doing 10% of those lots. At the back lots, they have to reconfigure them differently. And it's only 10% of the lots. We can do it at staff level. If he's going to be doing more than that, and it's going to be a massive change to what the original layout is, it has to come back for the commissioners and the planning board for modification.
And a quick follow-up. I know they're in the Eastover sanitary district, but is there water available to the property at this time?
They're under condition number 11. They're required to tie into Eastover water because there is existing water line.
How far is water? Is water right there on the property?
It's in Way 7 Road area.
It's on. Okay.
Yeah. tie into that.
Okay. Mr. Booth?
Okay, I think I'm following up Marshall and Jimmy on this. See where it says existing pond, right?
Yes.
All right, if you count that lot, and then on the right-hand border, and just come straight down, if all that is unbuildable, from that line forward, they could still build 20 houses.
Well, we have to have one lot has to be reserved as one separate lot. You have a maximum of 20 lots you're asking for. They have one lot that's bigger as one lot and then 19 smaller lots.
No, I mean, not a big lot, but it's unbuildable. It's just too wet, and they physically.
I'm saying you can incorporate some of the badland into some of the other lots and make the lots extend into the badland and give them part of that badland, but still have the 20 lots.
But not houses.
No,
There'd still be 20, but that's what I'm saying. There's still the possibility of having 20 houses forward.
Yeah, I mean, they could have, let's say that this, oh, sorry, where's the pointer? I'm sorry, there. Let's say that the line comes down through here is bad, they can't build anything with septic tanks. They can probably put houses on this side, have the lots extend this direction into it, but have the houses over here, still have 3 lots or 4 lots that direction. They could reconfigure it differently.
Okay. I'm worried about raw houses, not what the lot looks like, but I mean, if you're looking at 20 in there, can you still build 20 in this?
No, you have a maximum of 20 lots or 20 houses, period, is what you're approving. So, I mean, whether they've got like 19 houses over here or 20 houses right here, you'd have to have nothing over here.
Okay.
You couldn't come back and put more houses back there. They had to come back in and get it rezoned, modified to have additional lots under the zoning district.
I guess what he's asking is an acre lot, so that if you can't do 20, then it becomes a half acre, and I just put 20 on the half acres. I guess that's kind of what you're asking. That's what he's asking.
They could come in,
That's what he's
have
asking.
20 or 19 smaller lots and one big lot.
Leaving that as green and wet space,
Yeah.
and just get 20 half-acre lots in.
Yeah,
Right,
or
that's what you
reconfigure in
asked.
some form, yes.
Yeah, that's what he was
Okay.
asking.
Yeah.
Mr. Keith?
Thank you. Second round. Okay, so if you're putting lots on half-acre lots, isn't there a sewer requirement?
They still have to meet the health department's regulations for septic tanks and stuff.
But on a half-acre lot, isn't there a requirement for sewer? If you go down to R20? It's not considered R20, though,
If
is it?
sewer's not available, you can't make them tie into sewer. I mean, if they can perk the land, there's no sewer out in this area. So they have to get a septic tank approval from the health department if they're gonna build a house out there.
But they can consolidate all the property down to half-acre lots or, whatever, to smaller lots.
Yeah, you could, yeah.
But then you're not required to tie in to sewer. There's another, R20, I think that you're required, if sewer's available, to put in.
If it's available, it's suggested, I think. You're not required.
Okay, thank you.
Because you can actually have, septic tanks to have lesser land areas than having a well and septic tank on the property. If you have public water, you can actually have smaller lots using septic tank. You have lots that are R10 size lots that have septic tank but have public water and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
So-
Well, we haven't met. What's your name?
I'm Ed Byrne.
Okay, Ed.
Yeah, I'm usually the representative of Hope Mills. I used to be, so that's why you don't
Okay.
see me.
Well, welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
If I remember correctly, all that information was presented to the planning board?
yes.
This is the same information that was presented to the planning board. That voted,
To approve it, yeah.
pardon me?
To approve. To approve it.
To approve,
Yes,
okay. I just wondered if there was anything new. I left my computer in the car.
I know.
All right, are there other questions? All right, then I'm going to, what am I going to do? Close the public hearing.
Yeah, no, you already know.
Yeah, you got to close the public hearing.
Yeah, yes.
All right, I'm going to close the public hearing. And we've already had our question and answer session. So are we ready for a motion?
Madam Chair, make a motion, we deny the request.
Second.
What did he say?
Deny, a motion to deny.
All right, he's got a motion to deny. Drop the pen. All right, you've heard the motion. Was there a second?
Yes, second.
Okay. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand.
Voting in favor, Commissioners Keith, Booth, and Evans. Voting in opposition, Commissioners Lancaster, Faircloth, Chairman Council, and Commissioner Adams.
All right. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd move that in the case of P 18-37, that we approve rezoning from A1 agricultural to R40 residential conditional zoning for 20-lot subdivision, subject to the condition within our packet, and find this recommendation to be consistent with the Eastover Land Use Plan, which calls for rural density residential at this location. The density residential designation allows for 1 unit per acre, and further find approval of the request is reasonable and in the public interest because the district requested is in harmony with surrounding zoning and existing land uses.
Okay. I'll second that motion.
Question on motion.
Question?
Yes, ma'am. Question on the motion. Commissioner Fairclough's motion specifically said 1 unit per acre. Does that mean any deviance to that will not be accepted?
I don't see where it said that.
Yeah,
You
right
said
here.
it.
Allows for 1 unit per acre.
Which allows for, there's A1
And
residential.
the definition of rural density residential, at this location, you read, the designation allows for 1 unit per acre.
Allows for 1 unit per acre, that's right, and find further approval request, yeah, did say that.
All right, are there other questions?
Ma'am, I'd like a clarification on my question. You're
What's the
saying
question?
you're only going to allow 1 unit per acre regardless if it doesn't perk or anything else. They cannot consolidate to greater than 1 unit in less than an acre.
That's what it says.
I'll support that motion if that's in fact the truth. Joel, did you read that correctly? You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right. The question, this is the same motion that was approved by the planning board and planning staff.
That's correct.
So it can't be changed. Okay, is that where you're going?
Can't be changed?
Without further action.
Yeah, without, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Mr. Fairclough?
I think our previous discussion indicated that they can change it within certain parameters, and
10%.
I think it has to come back, he said, if there was a 10% change or not. And I'm not sure how that's defined, but I did hear that.
Okay. All right. Are there other questions? All in favor of the motion as stated, please raise your hands.
Voting in favor, Commissioners Fairclough, Chair Council, Commissioner Lancaster, and Commissioner Adams. Voting in opposition, Commissioners Keefe, Commissioner Booth, and Commissioner Evans.
All right. We're ready with case P 1846.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Case P 1846 is rezoning of 3 acres from R10 residential and CD Conservancy District to R6A residential or to a more restrictive zoning district located at 5187 and 5175 Lakewood Drive, submitted by Voorhees and Assumptor Voorhees, who are the owners. You can see the land uses around the area. Again, you've got some residential, you've got some conservancy district. Here's a picture of the subject property and the aerial and the approximation to the city of Fayetteville. Here are the hydric soils in the area and on the subject property. Here's water and sewer, which runs along Lakewood Drive there in front of the property. Here is the floodplain, 100-year flood. This is a picture of the subject property. Again, the subject property. Here's a southeast view from Lakewood Drive. The west view from Lakewood Drive. North view from Lakewood. At the planning board meeting on December 18th, planning board unanimously recommended approval of the staff recommendation, which was denial of the rezoning. And I believe the owner, Mr. Voorhees, is in attendance tonight.
This is unanimously recommended. Recommendation.
All right. Are there questions? Or is there a motion?
You got to open the public hearing.
Oh, shucks, okay. I'm sorry, I left my. Let's open the public hearing.
We have one speaker in favor and one speaker in opposition.
All right. We
Our
take the
speaker in favor is Mr. Maurice.
Thank you.
So my name is Maurice. I'm speaking on behalf of my wife, Sumter, and myself. Live at 3500 Chagford Lane. So we purchased this property, two properties, one deed, 5187, 5175 as an investment property. We were looking to, I guess, beautify the area. We were going to plan on actually renovating a small home on that property, and it also had a dilapidated trail on that property. That trail has since been moved and towed away. What we were looking to do was to try to rezone the area just to build a smaller garage for that house on the property. I guess it's hard. I don't know if I can flip to the other screen. It shows right there. I guess I don't know if you can magnify that. But the area what we were looking to, I'll show you. So the only for the rezoning, I think they did. When I met with the planning board, said it was okay initially for rezoning to a RS6A. I mean RS6 and not RS6A. And the only area I was looking to rezone that was going to affect for us as doing anything was this little area right here. So all the trees here in the CD, none of that's being changed. This house right here, because initially with the planning, I guess, board that I met with, that would still be the same. You can't build on this right here with just this little small area right there. That's pretty much grass right now. That's what we're looking to do. Being that was a trailer there before, took that away and was looking to just beautify this whole property. I guess we have an investment in the community. All of Lakewood Drive here, adopted that highway about, 5 years ago. So I cleaned the highway up. My major home is right, I guess, this area here, and I'm the homeowners association president. Even for that area, we've been nominated last year by the Joint Appearance Commission with, I guess, one of the better properties, better neighborhoods in Cumberland County. So what I was looking to do was just to have that one little area rezoned. It only affects this little area right there, which I'll be putting something on. None of this right here changes. I don't cut trees down. I don't do anything else, just that one area. That's right here that you can kind of see cleared out right there. Allows me to put something there. And I don't know if y'all able to see it on there. It's not magnified, but that's it. Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Our speaker in opposition is Mr. Andrew Faircloth.
I have a question of him, just real fast, as the property owner. Did you talk with either the planning board or the staff, the county staff, as far as any kind of compromise or limited, instead of just asking for the whole thing, just asking?
So I met with, I guess I met with just about everybody. Found out it's under Cumberland County. It was in the city of Fayetteville or Hope Mills. But the area, I guess it's hard to see on that map there. I can show you what, it's kind of, if you can understand this right here. I don't know if you want this right here. It shows what we did is just that little small area that's right here. And that's the only area that's really would be affected. They wanted to, and that's so it's kind of partial in that sense. But they thought that, I asked for partial initially, but they thought it'd be easier just to do the whole thing. Being that, I guess it's only one, I guess you do submit one thing. And so we did it that with, I spoke with Betty at the office, and then we came up with that plan. And it says it only affects that little small area at that point of the triangle up to the top of that triangle. So the rest of the CD, that doesn't change.
Is that whole thing the 3 acre tract or the area?
The whole thing's a 3 acre tract. And just that one little cleared out right there, that's the only thing that's truly changing.
Okay.
So, yeah, so all the CD conserve, that still stays there, the flood zone still stays there, just that one little area. That's, will it be affected?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks.
Our speaker in opposition is Mr. Andrew Faircloth.
I'm Andrew Faircloth. I live at 5463 Grimes Road, Fayetteville, NC.
Pull the microphone down.
I'll get a little closer. Pull it closer to you.
Andrew Faircloth, 5463 Grimes Road. Me and my wife own the bigger lot across the street from Mr. Warry's property that he has bought, and my mother-in-law stays in the other house on the smaller lot right there. She's in the national flood zone. She has to pay for national flood insurance. And any type of construction that Mr. Voorhees does and alters over there will affect the national flood zone. Hurricane Matthew went all the way up to the village of Lakewood up there and was up the road. We had to vacate our premises. The house that Mr. Voorhees has left over there had 3 feet of water in it. Nobody has lived in it since, and nothing has been done to it. Yes, he did take the mobile home down that was over there. It also had water in it from Hurricane Matthew. Florence was very nice to us. She only got a little bit into our properties as far as involving the houses. Matthew was much worse. As of right now, we have water that's right at the back of the backyards. So any type of construction that he does or any buildup, and my concern was his was multi-family dwelling, if I read it properly, my flyer that I got. So just building a garage, but a multi-family dwelling rezoning, it's not good. It's going to affect everybody on the backside of the village of Lakewood. The Little Rockfish Creek runs right behind everybody there. The backside of Birch Creek and those houses that are along there, those will be affected by it. So we're very concerned about any type of construction, any rezoning or anything being done. And he has done nothing to his property across the street besides take the mobile home down. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no further speakers.
Mr. Keith?
Close. I have a question after we close the public hearing.
Let me close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Mr. Keith.
Planning staff. My reluctance on this is Mr. Voorhees is asking for a piece of the pie, or he claims to want a piece of the pie, but he's asking for the whole pie. Is there an option for him to petition to divide the parcel? Because if we make this motion tonight for R6, the reality is he can put all R6 multifamily housing on the entire property. But if he claims to really only want that parcel, does he have an option to petition for a partition?
When the applicant came in originally, he was wanting to rezone. The zoning line right now for R10 is right here, and the CD is containing like the majority of the property right there.
Say that again, sir.
The CD.
Right, the red line.
The red line, yes, down there, and the R10 is actually right through here. Put the flood map on. Now, when you do a rezoning, whenever we got CD involved and there's a 100-year flood involved, we ask for the whole property rezoned up to the 100-year flood. So if you rezone it to the R6, you would follow only the 100-year flood line, which is this line right here, which would actually give him a little bit more land up there. That would be the R6 or R10 or whatever you're asking for, down to the 100-year flood line. All the remaining area would still stay in the CD zoning district, so you could not actually use that for anything other than what CD is allowed in. That's what the original request was for, was go from R10 and CD to R6A, what he asked for originally, and have the remaining portion of it to go to stay CD within the 100-year flood district difference and stuff.
So,
if you recommend approval, you say recommend approval to R6 or whatever you're asking for, to the 100-year flood line. That will prevent this portion from here down from being rezoned.
So it would maintain,
The CD zoning
but 3 acres is the total amount.
of the entire property, but basically you'd be rezone the property split zoning R6 and CD. But the defining line is the 100-year flood line.
How big of a piece of property are we talking about now that's not in the 100-year floodplain?
I don't know how much percentage it is, but it's very small. And the only reason why he was asking for it, he was trying to put a structure on there, and even the mobile home that he had originally on there was right up to the 100-year with the CD line, basically. And he was wanting to put a house on there or something else on there that he needed a little extra land. And the difference between where the CD line is and the 100-year flood was just like an extra 8 feet that he was going to get. That would be able to put a bigger house on there. What he was trying to do on there on the side. Setbacks were hurting him with the R10, and
He's got nothing on the setback, it looks like, to that corner.
believe it or not, this is very zoomed out, but when we looked at it originally, on the R6 setbacks, you have 25 foot from the right-of-way line. He had probably about, from the setback line to what the current zoning was about 20-something foot. So he didn't have that much. He was trying to get a little extra footage so he could put a little wider structure out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, and that would just give him a few extra feet, basically, is what it was going to give him.
That answers your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Are there additional questions? Did I? All right. What is your pleasure? We close the public hearing.
Marshall got it?
No.
I don't know who has it.
In case P 1846, I move to deny the rezoning from R10 residential and CD conservative district to R6A residential and find it not consistent with adopted Southwest Cumberland Land Use Plan 2013, which calls for low-density residential and open space at this location. The open space designation is designed to preserve area within the special flood hazard area and further find the denial of the rezoning is reasonable in the public interest because the land users allowed within the R6A residential district are not compatible with the existing land uses within the general area.
Second.
Second. All right, you've heard the motion. Those in favor of the motion?
That is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no items of business for this meeting.
No items of business. Item number 5 are your nominations.
Nominations. All right. For the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, there are 2 vacancies. And I need the nominations.
Madam Chair, I would recommend Gregory Raymond Kuntz Jr. and Stephanie Dixon.
All right. Are there other nominations? If not, let's go on to Equalization and Review Board. There are 5 vacancies. Mr. Fairclough?
Madam Chair, yes, okay. The first vacancy is the at-large position, and Curtis Alexander is eligible for reappointment. I would nominate him. Another at-large position, Harvey Rayner is not eligible for reappointment, and I would nominate Marcia D. Mello. For the appraisal position, Doug Stevens is not eligible for reappointment, so at this time I would nominate Charles McBride Grannis. For the businessman position, to replace Mr. William C. Beard, who resigned, I would nominate Durwood Clark. And for the industrialist position, Mr. William Holland is not eligible for reappointment, and I would appoint Carol Beard. I would nominate Carol Beard.
All right, are there other nominations? If not, we'll go to the Board of Health with 5 vacancies.
Madam Chairman, as to the veterinarian position, Dr. Kent Dean. As to the dentist position, Dr. Kinsley Mobadou. For the county commissioner position, Mr. Jimmy Keefe, no, Commissioner Jeanette Council, the General Public Representative position, Dr. Kenneth Mahone, and for the other General Public, Stacy Cox.
Okay. Are there other nominations? Okay. Item D is the Local Emergency Planning Committee. There are 2 vacancies.
Madam Manager, both are eligible for reappointment, so I would nominate Gary Tu and Stephen Rogers.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think mine's not updated, it looked like there's some additional vacancies on there, so maybe we could have this one again next month. It looks like there's someone resigned and somebody went off board about a couple months ago and didn't make it to this list. Is there a few? Okay, thank you.
All right. That was item E.
Skip now.
Go to item E. We have 1 vacancy because we have approved the FCEDC bylaws. So we have 1. Mr. Booth.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was looking at the information sent over to us by Mr. Van Giens, and it says that their purpose is to do economic development activities and services in the area, basically for both Cumberland County and the city of Fayetteville. In that regard, I'd like to nominate David Guy, who has a Bachelor of Science in Business Management. He's a real estate broker and a general contractor.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? If not, we'll go on to the Farm Advisory Board, which has 2 vacancies.
Madam Chairman, both persons are eligible for reappointment, so I would nominate Tracy Gardner and Sherelle Jernigan.
All right, thank you. Are there additional nominations? If not, Vice Chairman Fairclough.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For appointments, these people have been previously nominated at the prior meeting. For the Senior Citizens Advisory Commission, we have 4 vacancies, and at this time I would move that we appoint Nettie Hayes Miller, Reva McNair, Willie Wright, and Megan Honecker. I'd ask for a second there.
Second.
Okay.
All right. And without opposition, they will be reappointed. They are reappointed. Those in favor?
Unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And for the Tourism Development Authority, we have 1 vacancy, and the nominee is Vivek Tandon. And at this time, I would make a motion that we appoint Vivek Tandon.
Second.
Yes.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that we appoint Mr. Tandon. Those in favor?
Unanimous.
Okay, thank you. He is appointed. I need the FCYC members to the podium and tell us what you have gained or some comments about this meeting.
Be nice.
Be kind.
As far as me, this is actually my first Board of
Who are you,
Commission-
baby?
I'm sorry. My name is Joyce DePoombi. I attend Cumberland Polytechnic High School. This is my first Board of Commissioner meeting, and I think it was really interesting to see what you guys do. You know, I drive down the street and I go into my neighborhood and I see the construction sites, but I never really stopped to think about how they got there and who made the choices. And so it was very interesting to see you guys, you know, discuss as well as the public come out and give their opinion on it.
Okay.
I, Brian Craig, attend Cumberland International Early College High School. As the chair of Joyce DePoombi said, it was very enlightening to hear how the different residential zoning and like the different numbers and the different zoning and the different rules. It was very confusing, but it's very, I can learn a lot. And I can appreciate everything that you do, making every decision.
Thank you.
hard decisions. We're very happy to have you. Now, one of you is the chair,
Yes, ma'am.
and one of you is the
Vice Chair.
vice chair, and we will be seeing you again between now and the end of school.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Pictures?
You don't have to have a picture now. They come around and I get my picture.
They coming around for a picture. Oh, come on. Let's take this picture, please.
You ain't right. I'm just gonna do like this wherever you go.
Where's our photographer? Wait a minute, honey, we gotta take a photo. Come on down this way.
Take a quick
Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
Got it. Thank you. I take a motion to go into closed session.
So moved pursuant to 143, 318, 1183 to discuss matters with the attorney.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Unanimous?
Thank you. sit down. All right, I move we come out of closed session. Those in favor?
Unanimous.
I move we adjourn.
Oh, you listening?
Second.
Unanimous.
Unanimous. Oh, fella, you can't whistle.